food out for him. His name is Pan, and we'll talk more about him. All right, we're going to give him a choice here. This is a little bit of cat food. That's some of his favorite type of food. He's also going to get greens. We'll see what he goes for first. But the animal I'm going to bring out, his first line of defense would be to try to scare, to communicate through scaring. So he would hiss. You guys want to show me your best hiss? Okay. So if the hiss did not work, that was a really good hiss. You guys sounded great. If the hiss did not work, the next line of defense would be a growl. Can you guys do a really quiet growl? Oh, that was really good. Okay, so the last thing he would do is play dead. So I'm going to bring him out here. You guys can take a look. He's going to take just a second. Yeah, you guys are doing a really good job by staying quiet, because that helps him feel comfortable. So he's going to go over to his stump there and start eating some of his food. What did he go for first? Oh, the cat food. I should have known. So yes, Pan is an opossum, the type of opossum that would play dead like the picture that we just saw. That playing dead is actually not so much playing. When he goes into that stasis, when he kind of goes stiff, his body actually goes really stiff. He'll kind of fall over, he'll open his mouth a little bit. He'll actually emit a stinky odor as well. So just like the western hognose snake will emit a stinky odor, he'll emit a stinky odor. And a lot of times an animal will come along and go, no, thank you, I don't want anything that's been dead for that long. When he's really alive, but his heart rate slows, and it's almost like he really is dead. These guys look a little bit scary. I think that's the other reason sometimes we're nervous about them. They've got kind of those big canine teeth, but they're omnivores, so they eat meat, and they're actually mostly vegetarians. One of his favorite types of meat is right here. I'm going to save this one for him, but do you guys see what this is? Yeah, it's an earthworm, so we'll save that one for him. That's one of his favorite types of food. His other favorite type of food is an egg. We should cover his ears. He didn't get any egg today. So sometimes he skips egg. He doesn't know he doesn't have any egg yet. But this cat food also has meat in it, and that's really helpful for him. It helps him kind of keep a balanced diet, get a little bit of meat in him, a little bit of protein. So opossums are marsupials. We talked about that earlier. That means that they're born very, very small, and the baby will actually move into a pouch that's on the mother's stomach, and that's where it will get big enough to develop and then come out and look more like a miniature version of the adult. When they're first born, they really kind of look like little hairless rats, and then they'll go on to the pouch. They can't support, he just found a leaf there that he ate. That was not part of his diet, that's okay. They can't support their whole body weight with that scaly tail, but it does help balance them, and they can curl it around on branches to stay put and to help them not fall off a branch. Do you have a question? Yeah, go ahead.
So I actually saw this in the video. This actually play dead. But it wake up when you're just playing.
So yes. So
then wake up and
can I tell everybody what you just said so they can hear? Okay. So what this young man shared is what we were talking about earlier. When they play dead, they don't really have control over that. That's a really good point. So while he's playing dead, he's kind of stuck. He can't wake himself up. He has to kind of come out of that state naturally. So it really is a moment where he's not really choosing. It's kind of life or death. So I couldn't give Pan a command, for instance, right now. They're fairly intelligent. They're not the most intelligent mammals out there, but they're fairly intelligent. But I couldn't give him a command that was to say, okay, play dead, Pan. He doesn't do that because he can't control that. It's actually just if he were to be attacked by an animal and he would perceive a threat that was so bad that he had to kind of go into that defensive mode, and he has no control over it. So he has to kind of wake up on his own out of it naturally. But a lot of times predators, especially canids like dogs or coyotes, they'll try to eat these animals. They don't like to eat things that have been rotting or are already dead. They're not scavengers, so they'll stay away from something that does not smell very good. Any other questions about our opossum? Orange shirt, what's your question?
Is it more like when he's playing dead, he has like
The question was, does he have a tiny heart attack? It's not like a tiny heart attack because nothing is disrupted. His heart rate just slows down. It becomes very still and very quiet. He doesn't die, but he actually just has a slower heart rate. And that just helps him look like he's not breathing as much and look dead all over. Question here in the front. Yeah, it's like hibernation. It's like when animals go into a state of torpor or hibernation where they slow their heart rate, they don't need as much food, their metabolism slows down. It's kind of like that. But it's very short. It's not as long as a hibernation period. It usually just lasts less than 10 minutes. So you guys can notice he's really eating around his veggies. He's not that interested in veggies today. Would you guys like to see him eat his worms? Okay. He's going to come out for the second show too, so I got to save some food for him, but we'll bring the worm out for him here. See if I can get him to eat a worm salad. It'll be worm with salad. What's that? The earthworm was in the refrigerator, so it was very cold. Yeah, he was excited about the worm. So I'm going to go ahead and put Pan home. If you guys have any other questions, hang on to them. We've got some more animals to meet. I'm going to get him into his house. Oh, that's scary. He didn't even freak out. If you guys have pets at home, you've probably had this issue before. So I'm going to bring his house over. And Pan is an animal ambassador, so he's used to coming out and meeting people. He's definitely like, where's the cat food that you're supposed to put in the back? Over here, bud. Yep. Sometimes it takes a little bit for him to want to go in. He has to go all the way in, and then I'll put his tail up. And that was Pan, folks. Hi, Pan. All right, Donna, who are we talking about next?
Okay, I'm going to talk about a different type of defense. I'm going to talk about a milk snake. We have these in Colorado. Raise your hand if you've ever heard of a milk snake, or quite a few of you have. And a milk snake is a harmless snake, but what it does, this one is the milk snake. The size doesn't really matter because this is the only size coral snake I can find. And so the milk snake will imitate coral snake, hoping that it will be protected from predators. And because a lot of predators know these bright colors, and they understand that the coral snake is very venomous. But the milk snake is just very harmless snake. And it can be kind of jerky, and it's a little bit hard for a predator to realize how he's going to grab onto it when it jerks around like that. So, and another type of defense adaptation is called disruption. We have some animals at the zoo that would use it if they were in the wild and say the lions were coming around to eat them for dinner. They would use this type of defense and then it kind of confuses the predator. It doesn't know which way to go to which one.
So yeah, there's a couple theories about why animals might do this, why animals have stripes. Has anyone ever seen our okapis before? They also have striped legs. So animals that develop stripes, there's a couple prevailing theories, but one of the theories is that it's for hunting carnivores, primarily cats in Africa. What are the big cats in Africa? You guys shout it out. Lions, right? But they also have to deal with jaguars, cheetahs, or leopards and cheetahs as well. Not jaguars, those are in South America, but leopards and cheetahs. So there's this disruptive coloration that you see, but one zebra alone is not going to be able to be disrupted. So they need all of the zebras. So that's why you see zebras coming together in big herds when they're being hunted. So the prevailing theory there is that they're all coming together. That's a behavioral adaptation. So they learn to all flock together and defend themselves against hunting cats. Do you want to bring out our next friend?
Yes, I will.
All right, we've got another, I think that's him right there, yep. We've got another animal coming out. So pan is definitely an animal that would be a prey item, so looking to defend itself against larger animals. The animal that we're going to meet now also might be a prey item.
Yes. And so this is a pancake tortoise from Africa. And they have really interesting adaptation. If they become afraid of predators coming after them, these guys have a thinner shell than most tortoises. And they also can't draw in their feet and their head in the shell like our little box turtles do. But they're one of the fastest tortoises in the world that can run very fast. So the area where they live, they like to live where there's rocks and there's a lot of crevices in the rocks. So they become afraid, they run real fast, and they'll wedge themselves into a crevice of the rock and the predator can't get to them. And then when everything is fine again, then they will crawl back out. And these guys, what do you think they like to eat? Yes. Lettuce, that's right. I think he has a turtle too, so he knows what some of these guys like to eat. They're called a herbivore. They'll eat flowers and grass, things like that. They don't eat meat. Like our little box turtles, I think they like worms sometimes too. They'll eat meat.
Tortoises are mostly
These guys
vegetarians.
don't. They're vegetarians there. And so he has very interesting adaptations.
These guys sit down, that's fine. We brought out the big guy already.
Okay, now we're going to put him away, and we're going to have an animal here in just a few minutes. Before I put him away, his name is Buttermilk. We have two pancake tortoises. We have Buttermilk and Shortstaff. So do you have any questions about Buttermilk before I put him away? Okay. All right, I'll put him away and get the animal out. You're going to get to touch.
Okay. I might bring out one more animal before we touch. So I brought out a big animal for our animal ambassador collection. The next animal I'm going to bring out is not a very big animal, but he also has a defensive adaptation that's pretty cool. Can you guys see what's in here? Yeah. Yep. Yeah. He doesn't have a name. What should we call him? Ted. Oh, I like Ted. Okay. So Ted is a Madagascar hissing cockroach. So I'm going to bring Ted out here so you guys can see him. And their name tells you exactly what their defense is. Come on, Ted. There you go. So Madagascar hissing cockroaches hiss as their defense. So you guys can see Ted here. This is actually a male hissing cockroach. I can tell because he's got two bumps on the front of his body. I'll bring him up the side so you guys can see here. But their defenses are actually to make a hissing noise, kind of like our opossum. But the hissing noise doesn't come from their mouth. It actually comes from holes along the sides of their abdomen called spiracles. And they push air out through those holes, and that's what helps them make that noise. So these guys live on the island of Madagascar. They're not a flying cockroach, so they live on the ground only. And they're a cockroach that are detritivores, so they're really helpful. They clean up the forest floor. They eat everything that's left behind, and they're vegetarians as well. So that's Ted. That was a good name. Any questions about our cockroach? What's your question?
I knew exactly what it was.
Oh, you knew that he made the noise? Yeah. Yeah. It would be scary. So that's exactly right. So his behavior is counting on the predator or the animal that is around it being startled. So a lot of what these guys do, especially the little guys, they don't have a defense that they can really rely on. Some animals develop poison or venom that they can use, but he doesn't have that. So he only has noise. So he's counting on scaring that predator so that he can stay safe. All right, Donna's going to bring our last animal out, and then we're going to talk about what we need to do to touch.
Okay. skink from Australia. Can everybody hear me okay?
Your mic went out.
Let me see.
Yeah, I took it off.
Oh, I see. So yeah, I can do this part, Donna, if you want.
Okay,
So
I'll
yeah.
let her do it.
So Kendi is a shingleback skink from Australia. And Kendi is special, so we were talking about mimicry, animals looking like other animals to confuse their predators. Kendi has mimicry with his own body. Does anyone see what might look alike? Yeah, the head, and they kind of look maybe like a snake, but really his head looks like his tail. So he has symmetrical mimicry. Donna, if we were to present him the other way, with his tail first, you guys might think that this was his head. I think there's even a spot that sort of looks like an eye on there. Our brains also do that a little bit too. But he'll sometimes curve his body into a C and push his tail out so that the predator would go for the tail. He could survive a bite to the tail. In some species of skink, and I don't know if this one is one of them, he has a pretty big tail, they can regenerate their tail. So it wouldn't necessarily be the end of his life if he were to lose his tail. If he were to lose his head, he'd be in trouble. So he wants to present that tail as an option. So he's got a defensive mimicry just inside the way his body looks. He also has some pretty thick scales. That helps with water retention in the Australian outback where he lives. So we're going to use Kendi for touching. First of all, I just want to thank you guys for coming to Wild Encounters. Your being here at the zoo helps support our animals, and our animals need people like you. So if you're interested in touching, everybody show me 2 fingers. All right, 2 fingers. What we're actually going to do is line up behind this young lady here, behind this blue line. I'll have you guys go all the way up there.